Hello and welcome to the Joleedo Gamescast. I'm Jason Johnson, and with me today is Derrick Dover and Alex Lee. It's E3 week, and today we'll be discussing our reactions to the Sony and EA press conferences. But before we have fun talking about video games, we wanted to take a moment to reflect on the heinous tragedy in Orlando. Joleedo stands in solidarity with the victims. It is E3 this week, E3 2016. I say let's go for the biggest one. Let's start with Sony.
That's right. The biggest one and the best.
Well,
Sony.
Inarguable, I think, at this point. Sony had by far the best press conference.
They always do really well, and I do have some things that I would complain about, but that was pretty much a flawless presentation. A flawless conference for them. I mean, we can always ask for more, but overall, that was solid from beginning to end.
Yeah, I think if there was one lull in the show, it was part of the PSVR showcase. Specifically, I would say the Final Fantasy 15 VR demo level mission, whatever that is.
I didn't mind so much. I mean, they were just being goofy and having fun with it.
No, I get that, and that's fine. But I've had an issue, generally speaking, with PSVR because I don't know if Sony has done enough so far to sell me on the device, and I don't know after this, aside from one title, which we will get to in a second, that clearly stood out above the rest, not just for PSVR titles, but for I think surprises of the whole show. But it's like, tonight they showed the Final Fantasy thing, which didn't do much for me. And they showed Batman Arkham VR, but we don't really know what that is. They showed a little CG, and hopefully we'll know more soon.
I'm a little curious, a little disappointed about that. Because I was kind of hoping Rocksteady could move on and do something original and creative, but
And
sure.
This is a piece of hardware that comes out in October. Like, they have to sell this thing, and they can't wait until Gamescom and Tokyo Game Show. Like, this is E3, and I don't know if they sold it to me with the other games aside from the Mars thing, Fairpoint. I believe that's what that was called, which looks like I don't know if it's survival horror. It just looks like a really tense survival experience on Mars.
Yeah.
Now that's awesome to me. I love sci-fi, and experiencing anything like that in virtual reality, like for me, like that's kind of a killer app. But they did show Resident Evil 7.
I've literally, since we began, actually before we began, I've had the I guess they put out a new trailer for it, the Desolation trailer. I've just been looping this trailer over and over.
Oh,
as we speak, like I'm not even listening to what. I'm not even paying attention to the podcast anymore. I'm just watching this trailer. It's just incredible.
It's got the potential to really set itself up as the first great VR game.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, because for me, like, I'm looking for the real games that are coming to VR. Like, that's what sells me. There's a lot of fun, I don't want to call them distractions, but there are these small bite-sized tech demos that are very immersive and very impressive. But, I want the games, right? Like, GT Sport is supposed to be in VR, I believe. Yeah. Like, they didn't show that.
Yeah,
that's even... Where's that?
GT Sport, that's pretty much official. That wasn't a leak, was it?
I don't think so. I think it is official.
I thought that was official, so I'm really surprised they didn't, do something. But I guess what can you really show? But, show somebody behind the wheel. It would just look like any other racer. But yeah, they should have said something.
I mean,
I guess
Resident Evil comes out early next year, right? February.
I know what the hell.
So like that's not this year.
Oh my god.
Well, neither is Ace Combat, but you still could have shown it. Like neither is Dreams, but where was that? Media Molecule was gone. They were absent from the show.
Again, I do think PlayStation had a great conference, but the one thing that was really missing for me was the indies.
Oh,
like all the great indies they've always shown, and I love the indies that they've been bringing to the PlayStation consoles. But yeah, they I don't know, they just kind of dropped the ball on that one. So again, like I'm totally happy, but yeah, I really missed that. Still waiting for Rhyme, even though that's no longer a PlayStation deal.
Yeah, the Tequila
just a side note.
Yes, they have parted ways to some extent with their deal with Sony, so we don't really know what the state of Rhyme is. But yeah, I miss titles like that. There's a great looking indie title. Well, I don't know if it's indie. It's a smaller game called Bound by Plastic. And they didn't show this trailer. They showed part of the trailer. There was in one of the montages, the one at the end of the show, they showed this almost Journey-looking game that stars a dancer.
And yeah. That one. Got it. Right.
Like, I think that would have been the perfect title to show.
Well, they did already show it, because I think they showed that at Gamescom last year, or the PlayStation Experience one. Maybe it was the Experience.
Okay, that's fine, but it's still E3, and you have a lot of games. Like we saw a lot of third-person action games, right? AAA titles, and we'll go down the list real quick in a second.
I guess they just wanted to drop the new stuff.
Yeah, no, I completely understand, but it's not like they were lacking for time. Like it was a brisk show this year. It was 80 minutes, and we're done.
Yeah, that's true. But hey, whoa. Before we get any further, I want to go back to Resident Evil.
Yeah.
I know we're following these rabbit trails, but come on now. Okay, look. I was so excited for this game because of the rumors that were coming out about it. Like they had pulled, what's his name? One of the development team that worked on PT, and they talked about getting back to the roots. But like Capcom is, they've let me down a little bit before. Mm-hmm. So like I was very hesitant. I didn't have my hopes up for what I was going to see for Resident Evil 7. And when the demo started, like it really felt like they had captured that what made PT so great. Kind of the essence of PT and that sense of horror, and I was just blown away, man. Like when they dropped that Resident Evil 7, because I thought it was like, oh, what the hell is this? Some new IP? Like they're playing off the PT thing. Like what is going on? And man, when we saw that 7, my heart just I was about in tears, man. It was truly beautiful.
I don't know if there is a bigger applause moment of E3 so far.
No, that was the Shia LaBeouf applause right there.
Yeah. But yeah, it was suddenly like I mentioned in last Gamescast that I tried the kitchen last year. Mm-hmm. And when they opened up with the kitchen, they're like, before this takes place before the kitchen. I was like, oh, please, I don't want to go back there. I've already been there. I didn't have a good trip to the kitchen. So I had no clue what we were seeing, and like spooky old rundown houses, like that is not for me. Like that's some Blair Witch stuff that I want no part of. But I think one thing was absolutely clear. By the time they were done, not only did they have a showstopper of a reveal, but it really showed that Resident Evil is moving away from the last couple iterations, that style of gameplay. Third person, action focused. I think that's a fair assessment of 5 and 6. And they are stepping back. I don't know. To me, it felt maybe more survival horror than like the first game, like this first person immersive experience. Like I don't know. That's nightmare fuel.
Well, we'll see what happens when they announce more information because I'll be curious to see. So the game is playable all the way through in VR,
Correct.
but Resident Evil has toyed with in certain iterations of the game having third person and a first person mode. So I'd be curious to see if they still have that available, if they're just completely going first person.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see what they do kind of from the trailer, or from the demo rather, when that comes out and being able to get our hands on it. One thing I think is interesting though is from the trailer, it's the first game that I've really thought that looks like it'll play better in that first person VR than with a controller in hand and looking at a screen.
Interesting. And Alex, you are or were a fan. We haven't talked about Resident Evil in a while, but you're a fan of the series, right?
Absolutely. The remake of Resident Evil 1 for the GameCube is one of my formative gaming experiences.
Ooh. Oh man, that's a good one. Did you play 5 and 6?
I played 5 and beat it and put a good chunk of time into 6. And I'd say 4 is really the first one where they really diverged into that kind of action shooter side part.
So then what do you think about them taking I don't even know if saying taking a step back is the right thing to say. They may be stepping somewhere else with 7. But what do you feel like leaving or presumably leaving this action focused direction they've been heading and going towards something that's maybe more, slower paced survival horror, focused on the atmosphere, maybe more than how many zombies you're killing.
I'm really excited. I think it's a great turn for the industry, for the franchise, and for VR. I'm really excited to give it another go. I mean, I enjoyed 5 and 6, but like everyone, I think a lot of people felt they were a departure from that survival horror that we'd kind of really loved from the previous games.
I will. I'll just go ahead and say that, I really did love it. But I hope they don't lose kind of the heart of Resident Evil. I don't want them to go totally PT or go totally, just I don't want them to break away from the series too much. I do love certain aspects of Resident Evil, going back to Resident Evil 1 with all the puzzles, and I did like a little bit of action in there, it wasn't zombies all the time, but they had the zombies spread out, so it was
sure.
You were more scared by one single zombie, but it still had that. It wasn't an action game, really the first one, but it still had a little bit of that. I hope they don't completely break away from that.
Just imagine, one of the hallway scenes from the very beginning of Resident Evil 1. When you first get to the mansion and you're just trying to, find your bearings. Imagine something like that. You turn a corner in VR in RE7 and a dog jumps through the window.
That's all I can think about.
Oh, those fucking dogs.
Dog. Is he walking the wrong way down that hallway
no.
and those dogs jump out at you and just that in VR. I mean, that's how I'm going to trip and fall onto my couch or something like that.
The dogs and the damn birds. I don't. Oh, God.
So maybe they should have a heart condition warning on this title.
Yeah, that's we've always joked about that, but I kind of anticipate one of these horror games is just going to put somebody in the ground.
Oh man, well, hopefully it's not Resident Evil. And as a casual fan of Resident Evil, and I say casual because I haven't paid too much attention to the series with 5 and 6. I did play 4, loved 4, loved. The 1 remake on GameCube, played 0, but I missed 2 and 3. So I'm kind of in the middle. And I got to tell you, I'm more interested now in the series than I have been in 10 years. Easily. But I think it's good and I think it's healthy for franchises to, occasionally not necessarily remake themselves, but, take a step back and, rewrite the fundamentals a little bit. And that brings me to Sony's opener for the conference, which was God of War.
What a brilliant way to open the show.
Oh, no, go on.
Oh, no, I just thought it was so fantastic with all the other shows that they've had, all the other conferences, not Sony, just the other developers and and console makers and stuff, like always coming out and they want to do this big build up to stuff and they want to talk about it and all this stuff. Like they just jump straight into it. And that's, I think that's the perfect way to get everybody's attention because people want to see the games. They want to see the gameplay. They don't want to hear people yammer on